Welcome to 10 Minutes a Day, a daily reading of the Catholic Church's social encyclicals. Today we continue with Vatican II's Gaudium et Spes, promulgated by Pope Paul VI in 1965.
Investments, for their part, must be directed towards procuring employment and sufficient income for people both now and in the future. Whoever makes decisions concerning these investments and the planning of the economy, whether they be individuals or groups of public authorities, are bound to keep these objectives in mind and to recognize their serious obligation of watching, on one hand, that provision be made for the necessities required for a decent life, both of individuals and of the whole community, and on the other, of looking out for the future and establishing a right balance between the needs of present-day consumption, both individual and collective, and the demands of investing for the generation to come. It should also always bear in mind the urgent needs of underdeveloped countries or regions. In monetary matters, they should beware of hurting the welfare of their own country or of other countries. Care should also be taken lest the economically weak countries unjustly suffer any loss from a change in the value of money. Since property and other forms of private ownership of external goods contribute to the expression of personality, and since, moreover, they furnish one on occasion to exercise its function in society and in the economy, it's very important that the access of both individuals and communities to some ownership of external goods be fostered. Property or some ownership of external goods confers on everyone a sphere of wholly necessary for the autonomy of the person and the family, and should be regarded as an extension of human freedom. Lastly, since it adds incentives for carrying on one's function and charge, it constitutes one of the conditions for civil liberties. Forms of such ownership or property are varied today and are becoming increasingly diversified. They all remain, however, a cause of security not to be underestimated, in spite of social funds, rights, and services provided by society. This is true not only of material property, but also of immaterial things, such as professional capacities. The right of private ownership, however, is not opposed to the right inherent in various forms of public property. Goods can be transferred to the public domain only by the competent authority, according to the demands and within the limits of the common good, and with fair compensation. Furthermore, it is the right of public authority to prevent anyone from abusing his private property to the detriment of the common good. By its very nature, private property has a social quality which is based on the law of the common destination of earthly goods. If this social quality is overlooked, property often becomes an occasion of passionate desires for wealth and serious disturbances, so that a pretext is given to the attackers for calling the right itself into question. In many underdeveloped regions, there are large and even extensive rural estates, which are only slightly cultivated or lie completely idle for the sake of profit. While the majority of people either are without land or have only very small fields, and on the other hand is evidently urgent to increase the productivity of the fields, not infrequently those who are hired to work for the landowners or who till a portion of the land as tenants receive a wage or income unworthy of a human being, lack decent housing, and are exploited by middlemen. Derived of all security, they live under such personal servitude that almost every opportunity of acting on their own initiative and responsibility is denied to them, and all advancement in human culture and all sharing in social and political life is forbidden to them. According to different cases, therefore, reforms are necessary, that income may grow, working conditions should be improved, security and employment increased, and incentive to working on one's own initiative given. Indeed, insufficiently cultivated estates should be distributed to those who can make these lands fruitful. In this case, the necessary things and means, especially educational aids, and the right facilities for cooperative organization must be supplied. Whenever, nevertheless, the common good requires expropriation, compensation must be reckoned in equity after all the circumstances have been weighed. Christians who take an active part in present-day socio-economic development and fight for justice and charity should be convinced that they can have a great contribution to the prosperity of mankind and to the peace of the world. In these activities, let them, either as individuals or as members of groups, give a shining example. Having acquired the absolute necessary skill and experience, they should observe the right order in their earthly activities in faithfulness to Christ and his gospel. Thus their whole life, both individual and social, will be permeated with the spirit of the Beatitudes, notably with the spirit of poverty. Whoever in obedience to Christ seeks first the kingdom of God takes therefrom a stronger and purer love for helping all his brethren and for perfecting the work of justice under the inspiration of charity. Chapter 4. The Life of the Political Community. In our day, profound changes are apparent also in the structure and institutions of peoples. These result from their cultural, economic, and social evolution. Such changes have a great influence on the life of the political community, especially regarding the rights and duties of all, in the exercise of civil freedom, and in the attainment of the common good, and in organizing the relations of citizens among themselves, and with respect to public authority. The present keener sense of human dignity has given rise in many parts of the world to attempts to bring about a political juridical order which will give better protection to the rights of the person in public life. These include the right freely to meet and form associations, the right to express one's own opinion, and to profess one's religion both publicly and privately. The protection of the rights of a person indeed is a necessary condition so that citizens, individually or collectively, can take an active part in the life and government of the state. Along with cultural, economic, and social development, there is a growing desire among many peoples to play a greater part in organizing the life of the political community. In the conscience of many arises an increasing concern that the rights of minorities be recognized without any neglect for their duties toward the political community. In addition, there is a steadily growing respect for men of other opinions or other religions. At the same time, there is a wider cooperation to guarantee the actual exercise of personal rights to all citizens, not only to a few privileged individuals. However, these political systems prevailing in some parts of the world are to be reproved, which hamper civic or religious freedom, victimize large numbers. However, those political systems prevailing in some parts of the world are to be reproved, which hamper civic or religious freedom, victimize large numbers through avarice and political crimes, and divert the exercise of authority from the service of the common good to the interests of one or another faction or of the rulers themselves. There is no better way to establish political life on a truly human basis than by fostering an inward sense of justice and kindliness and of service to the common good, and by strengthening basic convictions as to the true nature of the political community and the aim, right exercise, and sphere of action of public authority. Men, families, and the various groups which make up the civil community are aware that they cannot achieve a truly human life by their own unaided efforts. They see the need for a wider community, within which each one makes his own specific contribution every day toward a ever broader realization of the common good. For this purpose, they set up a political community according to various forms. The political community exists, consequently, for the sake of the common good, in which it finds its full justification and significance, the source of its inherent legitimacy. Indeed, the common good embraces the sum of those conditions of the social life whereby men, families, and associations more adequately and readily may attain their own perfection. Yet, the people who come together in the political community are many and diverse, and they have every right to prefer divergent solutions. If the political community is not to be torn apart while everyone follows his own opinion, there must be an authority to direct the energies of all citizens towards the common good, not in a mechanical or despotic fashion, but by acting above all as a moral force which appeals to each one's freedom and sense of responsibility. It is clear, therefore, that the political community and public authority are founded on human nature and hence belong to the order designed by God, even though the choice of a political regime and the appointment of rulers are left to the free will of citizens. It follows also that political authority, both in the community as such and in the representative bodies of the state, must always be exercised within the limits of the moral order and directed toward the common good, with a dynamic concept of that good, according to the juridical order legitimately established or due to be established. When authority is so exercised, citizens are bound and conscious to obey. Accordingly, the responsibility, dignity, and importance of leaders are indeed clear. But where citizens are oppressed by a public authority overstepping its competence, they should not protest against those things which are objectively required for the common good, but it is legitimate for them to defend their own rights and the rights of their fellow citizens against the abuse of this authority, while keeping within those limits drawn by the natural law and the gospel. According to the character of different peoples and their historic development, the political community can, however, adopt a variety of concrete solutions in its structures and the organization of public authority. For the benefit of the whole human family, these solutions must always contribute to the formation of a type of man who will be cultivated, peace-loving, and well-disposed toward all his fellow men.